Here's a footnote. All you ever hear in the public conversation, I mean, I was listening to any answers at the weekend. It's like everybody's become an expert. Well, many people have said we have the Victim Olympics. It's all become a vulnerability competition. Who's the most hard done by? Now, apart from being actually in the bottom 1%, for 20 years, quite happily, because I dedicated myself only to the psychological well-being of my child and other families. I tried to do a couple of cases in the spring. Forget it. Lost. All the people who called me up as of about 7 or 8 years ago, they're gone. Totally, utterly wonky. They're impossible. It's impossible to know if they're telling the truth. Something has gone so bad in Britain, whereas prior to about 10 years ago, I could always tell if they were telling the truth, and they always did tell the truth. Now, that's one of many audio essays or essays yet to write. I may have already made that in an audio essay, but here's the point. I got only one family member, as far as I'm concerned, in the whole world, who I deeply love. Now, I think 5 years ago, 6 years ago, she walked up Machu Picchu. I can't remember if she did the shortcut way or the long way. I'm pretty sure she did the long way, which is pretty tough. 4 years ago, she was planning on going trekking in the foothills of the Himalayas. Now, I've lived right on this southwestern coastal path for 1 year. Okay, I lived in a couple of different places, or I roamed a stretch of about 20 kilometres, stopping in various places for a few days, and I spent most of the last 6 months here. I've met many dozen, a couple of hundred. On this path, it's about 75%, maybe 80% are European. And of the total, again, about 80% are women alone, possibly even more. And of the total, about 30 to 40% are under 30s, or maybe even under 27s. A lot of 25-year-olds walking, and at least half are actually women walking alone. Now, and all of them, and walkers don't bullshit each other. Quite a few of them have walked in other parts of the world, or all of them say this is the most wonderful path, their favourite pathway. It's quite tough in places. They'll do 20 to 30 kilometres a day. They'll usually, I think it's 1,000 kilometres long. They'll do one section in about half of it roughly in about 3 weeks, and then they might come back later in the year or next year and do another section, about another 3 weeks. So, I got a daughter who I believe likes trekking. I don't even know if she's been here. Never mind. Hey, be nice to have a walk with you. Yeah, I am the most kind of, because it's the only thing that keeps, well, it's how I keep going, but it's the pleasure has been this trek. I don't even, to me, kind of that my daughter, who has Stockholm Syndrome, basically has had for 15 years, and I won the court case, big one. To have a daughter who's the only person in the world that I care about, really, who happens to have ended up miraculously, I believe, I don't even know, anymore, but for a period she was seriously into her walking. And I live on one of the best pathways in Europe. I mean, lots of the Swiss come. About 15%, 10% at least are Swiss. And they all say it's great. They all love it. And I don't even know if my daughter knows about this. You know? So fuck off with everybody's moaning. This whole society. It's like, in the public space, all people do is moan. And then in the one-to-one private space, a hell of a lot of them are just talking about their troubles and anxieties and something wrong with them or somebody else. Fuck off, everybody. You know, get a fucking life and learn how to wake up every morning, you know. Well, I got a smile on my face, which I did every morning for years. And certainly don't believe one person, including the person that I loved, still do, who calls themselves some kind of a counsellor, therapist. It's just, you know, it's a joke. Because the definition of failure is, of that paradigm, is of what Britain became. So not one of them is worth a grain of salt on the salt path. Not one of them. They failed. Full stop.